Dynamite begins in about that had good heat and decent wrestling. Jeff Cobb and Brian Cage defeat the Hardys, Matt and Jeff, in 14 minutes 36. Brian Cage pinning Matt Hardy after a brutal drill claw. Welcome everyone to the go home show of AEW Dynamite before Double or Nothing this Saturday. Our biggest show yet in this save. This match getting the crowd buzzing, as you'd always expect with the start of every Dynamite, not just in real life but also in this save. We had 10,400 people in attendance. It is a sellout. Well, after the match, Brian Cage takes it upon himself to target Jeff Hardy, both men in that men's casino ladder match, picking up where they left off from the match to kick off Dynamite. Cage has him in the corner, landing devastating blows to the midsection. Then Darby Allin races out, slides into the ring and jumps onto Cage's back. Joey Janela runs down the ramp, goes under the ring and retrieves a ladder. Typical Janela. Gets in the ring with it and uses it as a weapon. He takes out Cage, then Darby. Jeff drop kicks the ladder into Janela. Jeff Hardy, the last one standing, he picks up the ladder. Then Shinsuke Nakamura comes from out of nowhere, and when Jeff turns around, Nakamura runs halfway up the ladder, hitting a Kinshasa to Hardy. Hangman Page is a no-show though, as he has his match to focus on later tonight. So it's Nakamura that stands tall. Cage exits with Team Taz. Janela is out. Darby is sat in the corner holding his midsection. Who will win the men's casino ladder match this Saturday? What a start to Dynamite. We're getting that showdown between the majority of competitors that will be in that men's casino ladder match. You just got to do it, haven't you, on a go-home show? JR then goes on to say, it's Wednesday. You know what that means. Tonight is the last stop before the biggest show of the year, Double or Nothing. And things are at boiling point, Excalibur. Yes, they are, JR, and I worry it's all going to spill over here tonight rather than Saturday night. Last week, Steve Austin made his AEW debut after it was announced he will be the official enforcer for the main event between Moxley and Omega. We'll hear from him, and JR, you had a sit-down interview face-to-face with both men earlier today. We'll see that here tonight. How about some of the action here tonight? Shayna Baszler debuted also last week. She'll be in action, plus Paige and MJF team up again as they take on the Lucha Brothers. And speaking of Pinnacle, we caught up with them earlier today. You don't want to miss this. So, 10,400 was a sellout at the Rabobank Arena here in California, I believe. We're going to hear from Kenny Omega in just a moment's time ahead of his big main event this Saturday against Moxley. Also, we've got JR's face-to-face, Moxley and Omega. We've also got another face-to-face with Toni Storm and Britt Baker, champion and challengers. Something to look forward to. Also, Shayna Baszler back in action. She wants all the action since arriving here in All Elite, and she will take on Mickie James tonight. Santana and Ortiz will face SCU, and the big main event tonight, Pinnacle against the Lucha Brothers. MJF, Hangman Page teaming up once again. Hangman Page, MJF, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler are waiting around in their locker room, looking at their watches when Tully Blanchard walks in and tells them he has someone he wants them to meet. Someone that they will benefit from listening to. Someone who has been at the pinnacle of pro wrestling. He opens the door. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, walks in, all smiles, dressed in an expensive suit, wearing a Rolex watch and some flashy rings. Tully and Rick, together again. MJF takes the lead, muscling in. He shakes the hand of Rick and bows to him. Rick is taken aback and then asks him to stop. Whilst Rick shakes hands with everyone else, MJF grabs the cameraman and tells him to leave. Pinnacle meeting with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Woo! It's all coming together for this faction at the moment. Pinnacle, similar to what's happening in real life, but hopefully I can take it down my own little, or have my own little spin on things. Ric Flair debuting his legend gimmick, got an initial rating of great. We got 74 for this segment. What does it mean having Rick here in All Elite? Well, We're going to find out what sort of impact will he have on Pinnacle. Will he have an impact on any matches? We'll just have to wait and see. An extra special part of JR's face-to-face champion and challenger is shown between Toni Storm, the AEW Women's Champion, and Dr. Britt Baker, the challenger, this Saturday in a rematch for the championship. Brandy Rhodes sits in on this interview. JR points his first question at Brandy, what was going through her head when Britt threatened her with a chair the other week. Brandy gets a little emotional. She admits she was scared she'd never be able to do her job again, or worse yet, left as a vegetable. She admits Toni was lucky. Britt argues it was the only way for someone to stand up and take notice. The interview continues as both begin to get real personal about each other. Britt wants to send Toni Storm back to the world of sports entertainment, but Storm fires back that if it wasn't for her husband in the world of sports entertainment, she wouldn't be here today. Security then have to intervene and escort Britt out, calling an end to the interview. Who walks out this Saturday at Double or Nothing as the AEW Women's Champion? It's an all-around really good interview, sit down face-to-face with JR. Yes, we get a 59, but everyone seemed to perform really well in that promo. The next match of the evening, Shayna Baszler against Mickie James. In a decent match, Shayna Baszler defeats Mickie James. She's now 3-0 since arriving here last week. She looks unstoppable at the moment, Shayna Baszler. She's running through all of the women's division. She put in a 58 in-ring performance, which is slightly less than her last two performances against Tay Conti and Sarah Rowe. But it's bedlam backstage between the four other competitors for the Women's Casino ladder match. Tessa Blanchard, Chris Statlander, Riho and Ali are all brawling backstage. I didn't want to bring them out to the ring because we've already done that with the Men's Casino ladder match preview, haven't we, earlier this evening. There's some arguing going on, pushing and shoving. There's a workers ladder though set up. Statlander proceeds to climb it. Tessa, Riho and Ali group together, and then Chris Statlander jumps from the top with a moonsault, landing onto the women below. Surely a holy shit worthy moment. Statlander gets to her feet and is all pumped up. She points at the camera, then walks off. Who will walk out this Saturday is the winner of the Women's Casino ladder match. You can see Chris Statlander taking a stump bump. I think she said in real life that she actually did some stunt work, so I felt she was probably the perfect candidate to do something like this, you know, backstage as well. And thankfully, there was no injury. We stay backstage as Marvez is up next. He interviews Omega and Callis about this Saturday at the MGM in Las Vegas and what to expect. Omega is put out by that question, so Callis answers for him, telling Marvez to take a hike. He talks Omega up. He's the cleaner, the best bout machine, Mr. 7-star. To prove it, and to prove why he's the best, he's going to have a match tonight against anyone willing. 3 days before he walks out of Las Vegas as the AEW champion. Kenny walks off in a mood. Callis rams the mic back into the chest of Alex Marvez. So there we have it. Don Callis pretty much putting Kenny Omega in the main event tonight. Is this a wise move by the number one contender for the AEW Championship? Well, as always, we're about to find out. Kenny Omega then with an open challenge. Who is going to step up? Who is going to accept? Who is going to maybe try and make a point, make a statement? A camera follows Miro earlier today. He's at the Nightmare Factory. He smashes his way through the main entrance. Once inside, he causes some unbelievable chaos, ripping signs off walls, throwing chairs through glass panels. He attacks some of the students that are training there. Miro is out of control. QT Marshall is there and tries to stop Miro, but it's no good. Miro throws QT into one of the training rings and locks in the game over. QT is out, but no one is there to help. Miro eventually lets go when he's had enough and leaves. Job done. Miro causing absolute carnage for Cody ahead of their TNT title match this Saturday at Double or Nothing. He brutally attacked Arn Anderson, brutally attacked Dustin Rhodes. Now he's wrecking the Nightmare Factory. Unbelievable what a challenge Cody has awaiting him this Saturday. Footage is then shown, taken from earlier in the day, of both Scorpio Sky and Christopher Daniels agreeing to team up as SCU. A big challenge has been set for them against a team that are in red hot form at the moment, Santana and Ortiz. Frankie Kazarian also agrees that it's probably for the best that he sits this one out. SCU on a bit of a losing streak at the moment, and it's all down to the performances of Frankie Kazarian, and we saw he tapped out to the Fujiwara armbar, which MJF locked in last week here on Dynamite. Scorpio Sky helped him to his feet. They walked out at the top of the entranceway to a standing ovation from the crowd, and in about that had good heat and decent wrestling, Santana and Ortiz win again. They defeated SCU, the team of Christopher Daniels, the Ring General, and Scorpio Sky. It's Santana that submitted. Daniels notes that Sky isn't the one that's on the receiving end of these losses. This match getting the crowd hot. We got 68 here. It's looking really good at the moment, isn't it? With Santana and Ortiz and having Selena in their corner. But my word, it's not looking good at all for SCU. Christopher Daniels is sat on the canvas with his head in his hands. Scorpio Sky is in the corner looking frustrated. He turns and looks at Daniels. Then, something snaps in Sky's head. He launches into a full-on assault, kicking Daniels in the head. He hammers away then at the skull of Christopher Daniels, then ends the assault with his blackout DDT. What the hell, Sky? He exits the ring, full of emotion, frustration, aggression. A heel turn, coming out of nowhere here for Scorpio Sky. You can see it foreshadowed a heel turn during this segment. Don't usually do these right on the eve of a pay-per-view. You normally do them at the pay-per-view, or you normally do them after the pay-per-view. Well, that's normally how it goes anyway in the world of wrestling, but I felt, let's try something different. Let's throw in a heel turn here. I mean, Sky isn't really doing much at the moment, so let's see how this one pans out for Sky and SCU. Up next, JR is sat down ready for his face-to-face part 2, Champions and Challengers. He welcomes both Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley, and also the enforcer for the Double or Nothing main event, Steve Austin. JR begins with Austin and what made him to decide to agree to be enforcer. Austin admits he's seen and experienced too many main events that have had bullshit endings. Saturday, that won't be the case. He's simply here to do a job. Omega argues that Mox is Austin's boy, that Austin is a huge fan of Mox. But Mox disagrees. Austin only cares about number one, and after all, he don't trust nobody. Mox can't wait for Double or Nothing to prove that Omega is just hype, and the only reason he ever got 7 stars was because he's in bed with Meltzer. Ooh! Omega snaps. He stands pushing his chair back. Austin is in between. Omega shoves Austin. Both come head to head. Omega then puts his hands up, then says we're done, and exits with a "See Saturday, Mox." We get 91 segment rating for this face-to-face, proper heated between Mox and Omega, and it all comes to a massive conclusion this Saturday at Double or Nothing. It doesn't get any bigger than this. A match that's 2 years in the making. I know they fought one another at Full Gear as well, but this is it. This is the pinnacle, if you will, between Mox and Omega. Tully and Rick are seen stood together talking before Paige and MJF team up in the next match. Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, bump into them. Matt and Nick take shots at Rick, asking if he'll be stepping in the ring again for the 16th time since retiring. Matt and Nick continue taking shots, knowing it's ramping and revving Rick up. They say it's a pity Tully and Rick aren't 50 years younger so that the Bucks could teach him a lesson or two. Rick is at boiling point. Tully has to hold him back. Matt tells him to be careful. Wouldn't want him to have a heart attack. Ric Flair warns them that this Saturday Dax and Cash are the ones going to be teaching them a lesson. Beat them, embarrass them, and prove to the world why FTR are the pinnacle of tag team wrestling. Matt and Nick smirk, whatever them, and walk off. Ric Flair is livid. His hair is a wild mess as you'd expect from the Nature Boy. And again, the Young Bucks just trying to get into the head of those surrounding Dax and Cash, the tag team champions. Hangman and MJF make their way to the ring ahead of their tag team match against the Lucha Brothers. Penta and Phoenix are out next, followed by the Bastard Pac. All three make their way to the ring. So Pac will be at ringside for this match. We get 70 for that, nice and simple, featuring Hangman Page and MJF. Ooh, look at that, in a superb match. Hangman Page and MJF defeated the Lucha Brothers in just under 20 minutes. MJF pinning Phoenix after a double cross. We get a 77 for this match. Everyone look at Rey Fenix's in-ring performance of an 81. I don't think he's got that high in this save yet, but an 81, that is incredible. The match getting the crowd buzzing. We've still got one more match to go. That's that Kenny Omega Open Challenge, who'll be willing to accept. But after this tag team match here, as soon as the bell rings, Pac rolls into the ring, standing up to come face to face with MJF. Penta, Phoenix recover. It's 3 versus 2 as Hangman Page backs up MJF. And this seems to have an effect on MJF. He seems proud having Page backing him up, standing beside him. Pac nods with a sneer and turns, leaving with Penta and Phoenix. Page was very poor trying to improvise dialogue here, but we still got a 71, still pretty respectable, still telling a story, still putting things in place ahead of the showdown at Double or Nothing between the Bastard Pac and MJF. We're then outside in the parking lot. There is an ambulance backed up. Chris Jericho walks into shot with Alex Marvez, who begins to talk about the dangers of an ambulance match, how it works, etc. He's unsure though whether the match will go ahead now after what Butcher and Blade did to Sammy last week, powerbombing him off the stage into that equipment. He has a smirk on his face. After digressing though, he continues to go over the rules of an ambulance match. He walks up to the back doors and slowly opens them, anticipating something. Marvez winces. Once open, there is nothing inside but a stretcher. Jericho finishes discussing the rules and promises that his career is far from over. Once Sammy is in the back of this Saturday, his attention will swiftly change to the AEW World title. He walks off. So Jericho making his intentions known then, that he will beat Sammy this Saturday at Double or Nothing, and then it's on to challenging once again for the AEW title. Well, we take a look at Double or Nothing's match card this Saturday. As we know, Jon Moxley will defend his AEW Championship against Kenny Omega with Steve Austin as the official enforcer. FTR defend their World Tag Team Championships against the Young Bucks. Toni Storm and Britt Baker set for one hell of a showdown with the Women's Championship on the line. How about this one? Cody Rhodes against Miro for the TNT title. MJF against Pac. Some bad blood between those two. And just seeing Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara in an ambulance match. And we've also got the final competitors now taking place in both the men's and women's casino ladder matches. All that at Double or Nothing this Saturday. Kenny Omega waits in the ring for whoever stepped up to the challenge. It's Eddie Kingston that accepts. He walks out with a mic and tells Kenny that Mox has been a friend of his for some time now. They've both been through it all, the ups and downs, the twists and turns, the roller coaster. And it would be an honour to soften Kenny up 3 days before Double or Nothing for Jon Moxley. We get a 74 this promo from Eddie Kingston, coming out and accepting this open challenge that was laid out earlier this evening by Don Callis and Kenny Omega. And in about that had great heat and good wrestling. Kenny Omega defeated Eddie Kingston in 10 minutes 45 by pinfall after a one-winged angel. Kenny Omega with a 92. If he puts in that type of performance this Saturday against Moxley, I'm confident Moxley is going to be up there in the 90s as well, and having Stone Cold a part of that match, it's going to be a spectacle. Eddie Kingston, though, failing to soften Kenny Omega up here. Omega continues the beatdown on Kingston after the match. Gallows comes out and joins in. Gallows takes the lead as Omega grabs a mic. He mocks Eddie by saying that it'd be an honour to beat the living shit out of one of Mox's old friends. He asks, "Where are you, Jon Moxley?" It's not long before his music begins to play, and he makes his way through the crowd similar to his debut at Double or Nothing 2019. Before he gets any further though, Cole Anderson attacks him as one of the crowd. They make their way then down to the ring. Gallows and Anderson team up on the AEW World Champion. Kenny Omega gets all excited, but he's stopped in his tracks as the sound of glass shattering echoes around the arena. Steve Austin makes a beeline for the ring. He's walking, he's talking, he looks pissed. Omega, Callis, Gallows and Anderson exit as Austin enters. Austin stares them down as they stand at the top of the entranceway, taunting. Austin helps Mox to his feet. Don't miss Double or Nothing this Saturday, as this week's episode of AEW Dynamite comes to an end. We get a huge 88 for this segment rating. What a way to go off the air. What a way to end the go-home show. What a way to head into the biggest show of the year, Double or Nothing. I cannot wait to share it with you guys and what I've got planned for Double or Nothing, which will be uploaded very, very soon. You got to stay tuned. Let's see then what we've received for our final overall rating for this show. It's got to be up there, definitely towards the... Oh, we've got an 80. That is fantastic. I will take that for a go-home show. Scoring an overall rating of 80. Solid show throughout. I was worried about some of the matches that I put on this card. Being the go-home show, I don't want to ruin Double or Nothing by throwing everyone in and maybe potentially picking up a few injuries here and there. But that is an absolute winner. Getting an 80 for a go-home show before Double or Nothing in 3 days' time. So we got an 80 show rating then, and we scored a 2.22 TV rating, and we had a total of 1.66 million viewers tuning in. Over on TNT, we're getting closer and closer to 1 million on TNT there. We got 970 watching this week. Very consistent with viewership at the moment. You can just imagine everyone hyped now for Double or Nothing in 3 days' time. Let's see how NXT have done then this week. Ooh, NXT scoring just a 70, and we've beaten them in viewership this week. They had a total of 1.5 tuning in. All eyes at the moment on AEW as we head into our biggest show of the year. You'd love to see it. Competition in the mud. Anyway, guys, that is it for this episode of Dynamite. Don't forget to join me for AEW Double or Nothing. It's going to be epic. It's going to be off the charts. And I hope you will come and join me for it. But for now, thanks for watching.